Hello, everyone. Let's verify you can hear me. Okay. Good, you can hear me. Okay, welcome to our Q1 2023 update. We have quite a bit of material to cover. Hopefully we'll have enough time at the end for questions and answers. But what we would like you to do is, as we go through the presentation, if you have questions, you don't want a slide or all, if you could post them in the chat, that will be helpful, and then we'll have them at the end of the meeting. So let's go to the next slide, please. Just the short agenda. We'll have a little introduction of myself and Vadim Ilvez, who will be presenting during the session. Vadim will give a R&D update, and then I'll be giving some news for the VMS community, which we probably have a number of people here. So my name's Dave Sweeney. I recognize many of the names of the attendees. You may have encountered me working with VMS support. I have been made interim CEO due to the unfortunate passing of Kevin Shaw, and I did want to thank everyone who reached out to us, all our customers, community members, and all for your very kind words and thoughts. We appreciate that. And then next is Vadim, our Chief R&D Officer. Despite his youthful appearance, he's been working with R&D for decades, has been with VMS for 5 years in many different capacities, all related to R&D. So to the next slide, thank you. Vadim will have the main R&D update. However, there's some information that I wanted to convey to you beforehand related to R&D. And the first thing is the VSI built and branded TCP/IP stack for integrity will be available this month. It's not based on the process software stack. It's based still on the TCP/IP same source that HPE used. However, we have updated and reported many of the components. HP, I think, did the original port back in the 1990s, and then in the early 2000s. So there's a significant amount of change that's happened in these components over that time, and we'll be picking up all of those improvements. We will have a TCP/IP stack for all our architectures that's equivalent, going to be based off a common source. So when you're running Integrity, Alpha, or x86, we'll be running the VSI stack, common code, and features that will be added to x86, if they're appropriate, will also be added so that they're available on the other architectures. The first release for Integrity will use the SSL 111 code base. That was decided because we believe and have evidence that most of our customers are still using SSL 111. However, you're most all aware that SSL 111 will go out of standard support in September of this year. So that there will be a follow-on update that will include support for SSL 3.0, which will be the SSL version moving forward after September. Will be supported on all VSI OpenVMS versions. And just make sure you keep watch for a product announcement that John, who's hosting the meeting in our marketing group, will be sending out. To follow up on that, we'll be starting the alpha TCP/IP 6-X field test soon also. That will be in Q1. For alpha, the beginning of tests is going to start with the SSL 3.0 base. So it'll be a little bit later. Just for your information, we already have builds both of integrity and alpha with the SSL 3.0 base, but we have to coordinate the field test. For alpha, the field test will be open to all our VSI customers who have alpha support contracts. And again, we'll be sending out more information on where that and when that field test will start. So next slide, please. This is just a little timeline of what happened in 2022, and Vadim will have more information. We had some significant milestones accomplished. We completed the 9.2 field test, beta test. We released 9.2 and then 2 update kits, which contained many updates for 9.2. Also, we improved and released OpenSSH, which was very important, for all of our customers to get in and upgrade the encryption and key exchange algorithms. So that was another major accomplishment. So those are the 2 main points I wanted to touch, is just a little review, and then the TCP/IP release. And now we can hand it over to Vadim for a more detailed R&D update.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Vadim Ilves. I'm located in Denmark, sunny Copenhagen, and I've taken over from Steve Nelson, who some of you may know retired about a month ago. And I'm responsible for the entire VSI R&D right now. Kazi, can you go to the next slide? I want to talk a little about our overall objectives, the current state of VSI R&D, and our plans for the next 2 to 3 years. So our goal is not just to port the OpenVMS operating system to x86. Our goal is to port the entire OpenVMS ecosystem to x86. And for me, the ecosystem is the operating system itself, the development tools, the layered products and the open source that comes with the operating system. Also, all third-party applications that ISVs are working on, includes middleware, databases, all sort of stuff that VSI is not directly responsible for. And of course, it includes your applications, the customer applications. We understand that the biggest value of OpenVMS is that it runs your applications, and we wanted to be able to run it for many, many years ahead. Next slide. So this is where we are as of the end of 2022. I can say we have ported OpenVMS operating system to x86, and it's running very well. There are some minor issues, but it's pretty stable. So now our focus is on porting the development tools and the layered products. And we've made some pretty significant progress with development tools. We have DexSet almost completely ported. The debugger looks pretty good. The native compilers, significant progress with C and C++, and some other compilers. The internal languages like Bliss and Macro, they look very good. Very early stages are customer applications and third-party applications, and we're working with ISVs, with other vendors, and I can't say their names, but many ISVs are porting their applications to x86, and we're working with them. We're providing them with early versions of the native compilers. They've been using cross compilers. A lot of activity is going on, and we know that some customers have made significant progress with porting their applications to x86 already. But it's 2023, and our goal for 2023 is that development tools and layered products and open source will have been ported to x86. And we're pretty confident that we can do that. Layered products, open source, we've ported like 50–60% of them. The plan is to complete this work by the end of this year. And our plan is that customers and ISVs to have made a significant progress with porting their applications. Plans for 24–25 is that the operating system will have been ported. All development tools are available, all native compilers, C, C++, COBOL, Fortran, Pascal, optimized versions of those are available. All layered products are available, and that our customers and our ISVs have made significant progress with porting their applications to x86. Next slide, please. So these are our plans, like very, very, very high level roadmap for the next 2 years. As you can see, in 2022, the goal was that we will have some of dev tools ported, base OS and clusters ready. We have achieved that. For 23, our goal is that to port all the native compilers, work with ISVs to have their software ported to x86, or at least initiate the process, and work on the performance of the operating system. To improve the performance of VMS, we need to build it using native compilers, and we're already working on that. We have an internal project to build the operating system itself with the native compilers. And plans for 24 for us is that VMS is a very good VM guest, which means we will provide all the necessary tools that will improve the performance of the operating system running under hypervisors. It will not just tolerate them, but support them. Like, you will be able to take snapshots, doing hot backups, all this sort of stuff. Have orchestration available. So we have a lot of plans how to make OpenVMS a very, very, very good VM guest. What we expect from the customers and from the partners. In 2022, we want you and the partners to become familiar with x86, start setting up the development environment. We already, VMS, because it already has cluster support in it, it can connect to your cluster. It can be a very good node. So you can already start working and setting up your development environment. In 2023, once the native compilers are available, we expect from the customers to start replicating their build environment. And we're trying our native compilers to be as compatible from the interface point of view with the previous compilers. And then we want the customers and the ISVs to start building their applications using the native compilers, telling us what the problems are. We will help with that. We have a team on standby waiting for customers to help them with porting their applications. By the end of 2023, we expect the customers to start doing functional testing of their applications, and for ISVs to test their software on x86. So by 2024, when VMS is running as is really ready for production environments. You, the customers, and our ISVs, we will have their software ported to x86 as well, and possibly start deploying it into production. So we have 22, 23, 2, 3 years to do that, and we think it's a pretty reasonable goal. So the idea is that by the end of 24 and the end of 25, the revolution will end, and an evolution will start. An evolution for OpenVMS for x86, we can focus on modernizing and improving and enhancing this very new version of OpenVMS. Next slide. So what is the current state of OpenVMS? 9.2 update 2 is, I would say, 95% functionally complete. All the components of OpenVMS that are in 8.4 are available in 9.2. One big component that's missing is the Acme agent. And the reason for it, because it's originally written in Ada, and we don't have an Ada compiler yet. So we have to rewrite it in C. And really, we want to reduce the number of languages that we use in the operating system. Layered products and open source that VSI is responsible for, most of them have already been ported to x86. And you can find a complete list on our website. DexSet has been ported. Samba is available. OpenSSH, OpenSSL, all this stuff has been ported. So VMS as an operating system is, it's really, it's in a very good shape. It's ready to be used. Next slide. Speaking of native compilers, I know people are very interested in what's going on with the native compilers. So C++ looks very good. C++, it's based on LLVM version 10, LLVM 10, so it supports C++ 17, I believe. We use it internally to build OpenJDK. There are some problems, of course, but we have a field test running right now, so we would please sign up to participate. We want feedback. We know C++ is a critical language. Many applications are written in C++, and we never had a C++ cross compiler, so many customers have been waiting for the native C++. Finally, it's available, not ready for production, but it's ready for your own testing. C, we're using it internally. It's not ready for field test yet. There are still some problems. We're using it, like I said, internally to build our own applications. Right now, the entire operating system is built using cross compilers, same for the open source. So our goal is to rebuild all our own software with the native compilers. This will be a very good test for our C compiler. Most of our software is written in C. Most of the open source is in C. We're planning to make it available for a field test within the next month or so. And like I said, we have our own project to rebuild OpenVMS using native compilers, which includes C. Fortran actually looks very good already. We're also testing it ourselves. But our primary focus on C and C++, once those compilers are out, we can start doing a field test for Fortran. The rest of the languages, so Pascal is next on the list, same with COBOL. So hopefully we will have them this year. So our goal is to have all compilers except for BASIC by the end of this year. I can't make any promises regarding BASIC, but we think that Pascal and COBOL they have very good chances to be released pretty soon. The debugger, we know that unless there is a fully functioning debugger, you cannot really do any porting because you want to be able to debug your applications. We will have a first more or less working version of the debugger included in 9.2.1, which is scheduled to be released in the first half of 23. Bliss is already available. It's been ported. It looks very good. We have not decided if we're gonna going to do a field test for it. Speaking of debugger, so basic functions are working. You can set breakpoints. You can step in, out, through. You can evaluate memory addresses. What's not working yet is that the source code debugger. For some of the languages, this is still not working. So you cannot go line by line. You would have to go through assembly commands. And that will be in 9.2.1. We will be working on updates for the debugger. And again, next version, hopefully we will have a very good version of the debugger. The debugger already supports C, C++. We haven't tried it with the other languages, but C, C++, Bliss, Macro, they're all supported by our debugger. Like I said, currently we use the cross compilers to build OpenVMS, and they're not optimized. So our goal is to, once we have optimized native compilers, to build OpenVMS with those, but it's probably not for this year, but for 2024. We know that OpenVMS needs to be built with the optimized compilers to provide proper performance. Next slide, please. Third-party applications that VSI is not responsible for. We're working very closely with our ISVs to help them with porting their application to x86, to port their software to x86. Some of the vendors, I cannot name them, have committed to port their software to x86. You should reach out to them directly and ask for their plans. They've been given access to the cross compilers, to the native compilers. Our goal is to help them with this process. We know that some of the vendors have decided not to port their software to x86. For this type of software, our goal is to provide you with the alternatives. We already have several internal projects to replace some of the key third-party software for OpenVMS with our own solutions. Once we have more information, we will definitely share it with the customers. But rest assured, we will do whatever it takes to port all the necessary software to x86 so you can port your software. Next slide, please. (9.2.1). This is the next big release. It's scheduled for release in before June or July. The goals are, first, we wanted to become more intuitive, easier to install and use. Another big item is that 9.2.1 will fully support AMD chipsets. Currently, you can only install and run OpenVMS on Intel processors. With 9.2.1, you will be able to install it on AMD processors. We know it will work. Performance, we're making a lot of improvements related to the performance of the operating system. We're reworking our documentation. Our documentation right now is more like reference documentation, it expects you to know what you're doing, and you want to remind yourself how certain commands work. We want documentation to become task-oriented, which means you have a problem and the documentation will tell you how to solve this problem. We've started with the installation guide. We're changing the installation guide to include information about how to install OpenVMS on different hypervisors, how to install it, configure it, set up the TCP/IP stack. So by the time you're done with the installation process, by the time you're done with the documentation, you will have a version of instance of OpenVMS up and running. For 9.2.1, our goal is to include C and C++ and probably Fortran as the native compilers. And these compilers are the highest priority because based on our information, that's what our customers use the most, C, C++, and Fortran. Our goal is to have a beta version of OpenJDK version 8. It's a very big project because OpenJDK is a huge project. We can already build it. We can already run it. It works well in some scenarios. Unfortunately, there are some use cases where OpenJDK just doesn't work, but we have 5-6 months to fix that. It looks very promising. So it will be a big release. It will be a big release. You will be able to run it on more architectures. If you're an AMD shop, you will be able to run VMS in your environment. You will have the native compilers that you can use to port your applications to x86. So our thought is that 9.2.1 is the version of OpenVMS that you will use to start your porting efforts. Next step, please.
Okay.
I guess I'm done. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Vadim. Just a couple of things before I get into the community news. I did want to, emphasize the point that the native compiler releases and the OpenJDK releases are independent of 9.2.1, so that as native compilers become available, they'll be made available for field test. Another thing I wanted to mention is that originally had put 45 minutes aside for the webinar. It may have been scheduled for an hour, but I did want to just mention that. So I'm going to go to the community news. Thank you. So the first bit of information is the Alpha and Integrity existing community program now has over 900 participants, which based on the information we received from HP on how many people were in their hobbyist program is a significant increase. And we're very proud of the team that's managed that. And we're very happy and proud of our community. They're very active, very passionate. And I think that participation rate shows, just how many people out there still are passionate about VMS. Most of our community members tend to be hobbyists. We have some freeware developers also. We want to provide them with a program that helps them help themselves, but also we want to have a program that helps us in the long run, right? So we want to make sure we can help the community, and also, how can the community help us? They do by porting software, by participating in forums and helping us. And hopefully we're going to have some news that will make you happy here. So next slide is as I've been directly or indirectly involved with the community program now for at least 7, well, probably if we include HP for much longer. You know, I know that all of you community members are really, really sitting there, you know, waiting to get off the tracks and get an x86 version and start, you know, helping, you know, us and helping themselves. And we know I don't know how many requests we've received. I've already seen the questions, you know, in the chat about when x86 availability will be for the community. Well, it wasn't available last year. In the major, you know, factor that we saw in making it available to the community was that, you know, we only had the cross compilers, or mainly had the cross compilers. So that would mean that you would have to have an integrity system in order to do you know, significant software development work. And we saw that as a barrier to letting, you know, everyone will have that. I know that some community members do have integrity, but the vast majority of our community are alpha, are actually alpha community members. And it's a much smaller percent integrity, and then a small percent that's both. So now that we will have native compilers coming out, we believe the time is right that we're going to open up the x86 software to the community, and then give them access to the compilers as they get released. So next slide, please. So I'll give you a summary of how this is going to work. Is, you know, similar to people joining the alpha and integrity community. You know, you go into our website, you'll fill out an application. So new people can come in and apply for an x86 community license who don't have alpha or integrity licenses. It'll be a very similar enrollment process. But for our current alpha and integrity community members, you will automatically be enrolled into the x86 community. That doesn't mean you have to join or participate in it. It just means that it will be set up so that if you choose to join the x86 community, that you'll already have an account that you can access to get your x86 software. Now, what happens is for x86, we've been distributing software via a customer portal that you log into, that you have your own credentials to, where you can see and access all the software that's available and download the software that you have rights to download. And similarly, we will be extending that, creating a community program in our portal that you will be enrolled in. You'll have access to your x86 software downloads via that portal login. You'll each have an account that will be using your email address that you've used for the alpha or integrity communities. Okay. So just a little bit, what will happen is you'll keep an eye out. At some point, you'll get an email message that will give you a link to log into the portal. And there you'll see a reset password button. So you'll be able to go in and set a new password for you to access. Okay. So here's a couple of expectations. I just want to set, you know, people are really excited and have been waiting for this for a while. I want to make sure, you know, our expectations and your expectations are the same. You know, we all share our common passion for the operating system, and we want to not only share that among ourselves, but we want to, you know, share it along with other people who might be silently using VMS that we don't know about, or who aren't using VMS may have an opportunity to examine it and see what they may be able to do with our operating system in their environments. So, how we hope that you can help us is by participating in the field test of the compilers, in publicly sharing information with the community, and with, through blogs and things. We'll have more information on that as time passes, but we do, want your active participation in x86. So although, we need your participation since the access is free, there's only a limited number of resources that we have available. We have to make sure our critical resources are devoted to our paying customers. We will give access so that you can report defects against VMS software products. However, these reports will not have the same weight as customer reports, right? That just only makes sense. So we cannot, guarantee that anything will happen on your report. Obviously, if we find a critical bug, it will, but it will be up to VMS software to solely determine if an issue you reported is something that we're going to deal with immediately or in the future or at all. So next slide. So just, here's some information of kind of reminders. I think, our community is mature and knows these, but these are just, reminders. Because, believe it or not, we have some younger people who have joined the community program, actually quite a few, and, they might not be as familiar with the norms and things. So the first thing I want to encourage everyone to do is share the information about their experience with x86 in the forum, which is forum.vmssoftware.com. Many of you have already been in there. It's free. If you have never been in there, it's free to join. You can just go in there and self-register. We want you to ask all of your questions about setting up virtual machines, and anything about host guest installation configuration troubleshooting in the forum. VMS software, we don't, we will not entertain any questions from you about installing your virtual machine, about configuring your guests. We have many people now in the community and who have already gone through this. And we believe if you go to the forum, and we've posted some things in there ourselves, it will explain to you and help you already have topics that tell you how to configure a VMware host and so forth. So you should go to the forum. You should not be contacting VMS support for that information. Again, please share your information. Share them liberally, and share your successes and failures too. If you've gone down some track and it's been a great success, share that. If you've gone down a track and it didn't work out, share that too. And we also would suggest if you have an issue to report, first post the issue in the forum to get assistance from the community and informal assistance from VMS software. Another thing that this can do is, as many of you have been involved with software development, a very, very key piece to fixing an issue or in correcting a defect is getting a reproducible environment for that problem. If you can reproduce it only in your environment, it's tough. It's tough to determine, okay, is this a configuration issue? Is this a software issue? By posting it in the forum and enlisting other people to produce it in their environment, it will really help you create a better problem report, and it will really help us, see the problem and be able to fix it. So that is, what we really want you to do is share information in the forum, make this forum active for all of the interactions you're having among the community also. And then, everyone will be able to see all the shared information and experience people have gone through. In the don'ts, again, I already mentioned, please don't ask us about, virtual machine hosting and guest configurations or making recommendations and all. Please go to the community to do that. And if you end up reporting things through channels or trying to contact employees directly, we will not, we don't look kindly upon that, because we do need to keep our important resources geared to working for our commercial customers. So people are looking for timelines. I can tell you this is definitely happening in Q1. One of my resources who's very critical to this is actually skiing right now in Colorado. So it's not like going to happen this week, but we have already done a dry run of loading all the community members into our sandbox for our customer portal, verifying that all of the community members get in there, that we have the ability for them to receive an email message with a link and be able to go in there and update their passwords. We worked also on the form for new applications for the community, so that will be available. So it's Q1. I certainly am very confident that it's going to be in Q1, but I'm not going to give you a specific date. I apologize for that. Okay, so next slide, which is the end. So I did want to thank you. I hope the community message is well received. I think that I've seen some notes in the chat that people are already appreciating Vadim's update. So I'm going to turn it over to John to, we have, like I mentioned, I had 45 minutes assigned for the webinar. So we have a few minutes to answer a couple of questions. So, someone just said community news is like Christmas. Well, thank you. Okay. I'll go through some. So John, any questions in there that?
Dave, there are a ton. I'm not sure how we can pick one. So we will share the recording, and we'll also share a document where we will list all the questions and provide answers.
Okay.
Can I answer one question?
Yes.
Yeah, the question is non-native x86 support until after 2024. Right now, we don't have plans to do native, to do bare metal. Yeah, we focus on hypervisors, and that's what most of the customers have been asking, is to support hypervisors, because every customer has a VMware or KVM installed.
Oh, correct. And I believe that question's been
answered,
yeah, many times. So you can keep asking, but the answer will remain the same. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your participation and your support of VMS. And thank you, Vadim, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.